Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to the Interplayer 3 podcast. As always, co host Josh, aka Freud, here with Mr. Kraig slash Tungsten Phoenix, who today is coming to us live from a very comfy mountain cabin.
I would call it a lodge. I think lodge is right. I don't know where it's from. Just found a picture on Google.
Oh, well, you just shattered that illusion for all of our
I did.
viewers.
But it was warm and cozy. I'm freezing right now. It's cold here, and I'm just like, I need warm. I was gonna do like a snowy backdrop. I'm like, I'm cold enough.
Yeah, that'll make it
Fireplace.
worse. I like it.
Yeah.
So I do have to remark though, it kind of looks like there's like a ceiling sprinkler that's like coming out of the stone. I don't know. Do you see that like in the background, like to the right of
Right.
the?
Right
Yeah.
here.
What is that?
Oh, so that is a that's how you control how big the flames are. That's a
Oh,
propane like knob. Like this is a propane fireplace. Just by looking at it, actually, just because of that, I saw that too, and I was like, okay, so it's a propane fireplace. So this is actually red herring because it's not really a wood
wow.
firing. It's not a wood fireplace. It's propane. This is a lie, or so this is a
No,
lie.
the wood is a lie.
This is the truth. The
Okay.
wood is a lie.
Shows how much I know about propane fireplaces.
You have to have one to kind of know. It's like
I
one of
guess
those things
so.
that if you've never seen it, you don't know.
Yeah. And
We have a
anyone
propane
anyone
fireplace,
listening
but
to
we don't
this,
have one of these.
right, and anyone listening to this and not watching on YouTube has no idea what we're talking about, which is probably our cue to talk about our kids stuff. How
Yeah,
so we did
kids.
miss, I guess we should say we did miss last week. We could not kind of, our schedules did not align to record last week, but I'm glad we were able to work it out
Unfortunately.
today. Yeah. But how have the last few weeks been? How's the fam?
So last week, what? Wait. Yeah, Thursday was my son's birthday, and this little boy thinks that birthdays last like for a month right now because
Kind of like Halloween?
my yeah, exactly like Halloween. But it's worse because he has like evidence to back it up because my mom came into town last weekend to celebrate his birthday party, and so our birthday, so we had a birthday party at my grandpa's house, his or her mom's or her dad's house. Cake, friends, stuff. It was the big party. It was the big, birthday
Yeah.
party. Woo, happy birthday and everything. And that was the first party, and then on his birthday, we did like a little family birthday party. We bought another cake because people like cake. Except for this time they didn't get like like a birthday cake, like sheet cake and whatnot.
Mm.
It was a roulade, which is like a spirally cake.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
anyways, it's delicious. So we had that birthday party, and he got presents from somebody else that day because he didn't get
Oh.
their presents on the other day. And then next week, I think it's Saturday, we're doing Thanksgiving / birthday party with my dad and his mom.
Oh wow.
So we're doing his birthday then as well. So he's getting
Yeah.
he has a him and or my his mom and I are together, like married, and he still is getting 3 different birthday parties.
Yeah,
Like,
that's,
oh God,
I mean, my
this
first
is gonna be
reaction
bad
is
for the
that
future.
you've kind of done this to yourself, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
You've allowed your family
I
to
agree.
just gift your son with endless birthday parties, and
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
you've created a
part of
monster.
it's that like my family's super separated. My dad's side and my mom's side, they don't come together ever. That's not a thing that happens.
Hmm.
And so like there has to be one for each of them, and then it's kind of just easier at that point to like just let Callie's family do their own thing for him as well,
Yeah.
because they're sort of like, we don't want anything to do with your side of the family, like because
Oh,
the one side
families.
is really the one side's really big and they don't like the super big gathering, so
Ah,
it's complicated. This ends
yeah.
up being the best for like people in general, but yeah, I'm sitting here like, oh my God, he's gonna be like 10 and be like, what, you don't have 3 birthday parties in the
Uh-huh.
same month that use your birthday? What?
Yep.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, I don't know if it's
So
quite the same issue, but our little one is going to have 2 Thanksgivings for her first Thanksgiving
Whoop.
ever. A little too young to remember it, but she had her first Thanksgiving just yesterday with my side of the family, who's going to be out of town for the actual day. So then we'll be going over to in-laws for second Thanksgiving. I don't think she's going to remember this, so hopefully she. But honestly, it's probably gonna be the same thing. Everyone wants to like celebrate on their own, and so you just end up having to have like multiple holidays, and it just kind of gets crazy. But she's a little young.
Anybody who actually, sorry, go ahead, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say she's a little young. Oh, there's my cat in the background.
Hi, kitty.
No, the big news with her really is that she's teething now, which means lots of moaning and fussing. In fact, you may hear her in the background occasionally. She's being fussy. I can hear her upstairs with mom being fussy. So
may she cut many at once.
Yeah. Yes, I hope so.
That's the best way to go.
Sleep has been a little tricky this last week. I ended the week pretty exhausted, on very little sleep. So yeah, the sleepless saga continues. Hopefully those teeth come in quickly, but that's been my 2 weeks. It's been lots of teething and not sleeping and Thanksgiving early.
I think my least favorite thing about teething was the endless amounts of drool.
Oh yeah, she's drooling on everything now. She wants to chew on everything, and she's drooling on everything. Yeah. It's like it's impressive. Drool everywhere.
Remember, Kale would go through like 2 to 3 onesies a day just from drool.
Yeah,
it's just like, God, this is too much. This is
but you gotta change them, or else they're just gonna walk around in like a soaked onesie. And you did this to yourself.
They have a blowout. They have a blowout on top of that. Then it's another onesie. Maybe you're lucky and they coincide. One of the soaked onesies just happens to be a blowout, and it's like, well, I was gonna change it anyways.
Yep.
But
she does have a few blowouts here and there.
Babies.
But she's a cutie.
We got to. She
that
is
helps.
A cutie. I see pictures. She's cute. We got to see our new baby. We had a second ultrasound.
Oh, nice.
There's like right before second trimester, there's a testing phase that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And test all came back negative, so baby's all good.
Awesome.
But yeah, we got to see baby moving around and stuff. It's crazy how like quickly they start to look like people, like alien people, but people.
Right. Yeah, it happens fast. It really does.
It does.
It's exciting.
So.
Exciting stuff.
Wow. Oh, and apparently because we did the genetic testing, we can find out the gender like genetically, even if we couldn't see it. And we didn't know that until yesterday, and someone told us, and we we're like, oh, and so we have to wait until tomorrow when they open so we can call them and be like, oh, by the way, we would like to know the name or the gender of the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Through the genetic testing. So we don't have to wait until...
Yeah, you're going to find out super
January.
Early.
January is supposed to be the when you find the gender out through the ultrasound, and so we don't have to wait that long, which is like, yes.
Yeah, that you're going to find out super early. Yeah, we did not do the genetic testing, so we had to wait a little bit, but it's super exciting when you find out. Although some people still, like, it kind of surprises me. Like, we have some friends that still, they just want to wait till birth to find out.
But is it their first baby or their third baby?
This one couple I'm thinking about, it's their first. So.
Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. Yeah.
It makes
Shopping,
it harder on other people who
planning,
are going to get you stuff.
All the planning,
just planning everything else. It's just like,
Yeah.
Because then everybody's like, now we have to get gender neutral colors for everything. And people, when it's a burden for people like that, they're less likely to get you more stuff.
That is actually
if it's a little boy, everyone's like, boy stuff. When it's a little girl, they're like, girl stuff. And they're like, we don't know. We have to be genderless.
Yeah, it's also the moment when you realize like how much baby stuff is gendered. Like,
Oh yeah.
I
No,
didn't really realize that because so going in, I'd heard people complain about this before. Like, oh my gosh, it's so annoying trying to shop for someone who like won't say what the sex of their baby is.
Yeah.
And I remember like before I had a baby, I'm like, well, what's the big deal? Just get them gender neutral stuff. Like, nothing wrong with being gender neutral. Blah blah blah. And I still believe that in theory, but like the way that the baby industry like just is that almost everything is gendered. Like everything is either blue or pink. It's insane. And so it's like,
yep.
It's not that like there's anything wrong with wanting to like go a gender neutral route. It's just that just the amount of supply. Really hard. Trying to find that stuff is actually really difficult. It's kind of obnoxious.
It really, really is. And then, because then you're looking for like greens and stuff, and those don't really exist out in the wild. Or like there's a color palette for the season or for this year's trends and kind of thing, and it just doesn't. It's not to mention ones that like are cute, like like Daddy's little girl, or and then it's really specific, and you're like, I can't get these things because we don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's true. Like, come on, Babies R Us. Yeah. 2018. Get us some greens. Although Babies R Us is now
gone, right? Is it gone?
Rest in pieces. Press F to pay respect.
Actually, did you hear that Toys R Us is coming back?
I heard they are coming back, apparently. I guess that's good. I'm surprised. I don't know how, but anyway.
It seems pointless to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, Amazon's taking over the world.
Yeah.
But what can you do except subscribe to Amazon Prime? Well, we should probably talk about some news.
Subscription to him over there.
Oh yeah, that free Twitch Prime subscription. Yeah,
that free Twitch Prime subscription.
Did you know? If I was streaming live on Twitch, maybe that would be. Well, I guess I do sometimes, but I'm not right now.
We could stream these.
We could. I've thought about it. Anyone who's listening, if you'd like to be able to watch live via Twitch, let us know. Drop a comment. Because I've thought about it, but we just haven't really tried it out yet. So it's a possibility. Could give it a go sometime.
If you want to holla.
But we should probably get to some news.
Okay, shall we?
Shall we? Yes.
Let's.
Yes. The first topic of the day was one that I was not planning to want to talk about until I saw it. It is the incredible and kind of incredulous Pokemon movie trailer. Or should I say Detective Pikachu. Is that what it's called? Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu. A lot of people are like just like freaking out, like, oh my god, this Pokemon looks super weird in this trailer, and I'm just like, it looks like a Pokemon, dude. Calm down. Doesn't look that. If you're getting nightmares from Mr. Mime, like real, like the real version of Mr. Mime, then I hope you got nightmares from the original game, because otherwise I kind of think you're just looking for attention.
Yeah, so
it doesn't look that bad. It looks really good, actually.
It does. I mean, okay, so I guess we should say, if anyone listening hasn't seen this yet, pause this podcast, go watch the Detective Pikachu Pokemon movie trailer. It is amazing, starring Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu. And so I mean, so the whole thing, like how the Pokemon look, you had to kind of expect that, like, I don't know, that they might look, that they were going to look different, that there's something might feel off with some of the models, just because they're trying to render these Pokemon in a realistic kind of like real world setting instead of cartoon. No, that's the only previous like the only previous way we've seen Pokemon is in some kind of cartoon or pixelated presentation. Yeah. So yeah, like they're gonna look maybe a little different than what you are used to, but I actually think if this trailer is, anything to go by, I think they look really good. I thought they pulled it off, and I just wanted more by the end of it.
Like there's a couple different routes they could have taken with this that they didn't choose, and I'm really glad they didn't. Like, have you seen some of the artists? Actually, I think the artist who did this got hired on to the movie to help make the CG renders and models and stuff. But there was an artist who made like real life Pokemon, as they would be in our world, kind of thing. I mean, they were still pretty drawn, but they were like their anatomy was more closely related to what they would look like in our world,
Hmm.
and some of them were pretty messed up. Some of it was really, really freaking weird. And I'm super glad they didn't take that route because there's someone that'd be like, oh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But instead, they kept it really close to how Pokemon are supposed to look or how they look in the game, and I really
Hmm.
appreciate that. Honestly, like it feels like the closest marrying that they could have done without getting too far from the source material. Which, let's be honest, for a lot of Pokemon nerds, too far is not very far away from the original. So,
Yeah.
like, if yeah,
There's
if
always
you
going
know
to
what I
be
mean, is that
right. No, there's always going to be those fans
yeah,
that like you take one step to the right or left of like of the source material, like the more traditional
yeah,
whatever that they're used to, like they're gonna freak out. There's always gonna be those fans.
yeah,
um you can't, in my opinion, you can't cater to those fans. Like you want to stay true enough.
agreed.
Of course you don't want to like just go crazy out into left field with what you're trying to do, but if you try to like just fit into that such strict book or world, like creativity dies. And
Yeah.
something like this amazing movie trailer wouldn't even exist.
But Nintendo's not really known for taking risks either. A lot of their stuff is relatively like,
That's true.
financially safe. Like they know that what they put out is going to be good and liked. They don't take risks really, honestly. Like
That's
some of their
true.
third party developers and stuff might, but a
Hmm.
lot of their main platform is not risky at all. It's very much in line with what everybody likes. So I don't think even if I think that's one of the reasons too why we haven't seen a Pokemon movie like that yet,
Hmm.
because I think they were waiting for the right amount of technology, the right time, the right people, and everything to make a movie that would be like just enough to let it go by in live action, but not so much that it would be a risk on whether or not people like it. Because there's going to be the people who think Mr. Mime's creepy, but I think there's going to be a lot more people who are like, it looks just like Pokemon, and I understand what's going on because I don't have to sit there and be like, who's that? Who's that? Wait, that's Charizard or that's Squirtle or whatever. That
Hmm.
that doesn't look like them. It's artistic. Well, I didn't want artistic. I wanted Pokemon.
Well, I think the timing of this is actually really great because when you think
Yeah.
about Pokemon as a franchise, um, it's to the point where like the very first Pokemon fans, like their kids are now playing Pokemon, and so like
Yep.
their audience, they've got the nostalgia factor with all the older fans, and they've got the all the brand new fans that are just being introduced to the world of Pokemon and all that it has for the first time, and bringing all that excitement into it. And so,
Yep.
just from a fan base perspective and the range of potential audience, I think the timing's perfect there. I also think that Pokemon Go, um, the phone app, introduced the world of Pokemon to completely new audiences,
Oh
and
yeah.
broadened like the brand's reach and exposure even more. And there were tons of people that played that game and still do who had never touched a traditional Pokemon game before. And to those to that fan base or that audience, they don't care about source material. Like they're going to see a trailer like
Yeah.
this and think that's really cool. That actually fits with the premise of like the Pokemon Go app where you walk around and
Yeah.
catch Pokemon, like, in virtual reality. Like a movie like this fits that really well. So I just think the timing is perfect for something like this to come out and hopefully be
I completely
successful.
agree.
And I mean,
I think it will be. I think it.
I do,
I think it will be.
yeah. And Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu.
God,
Um, I mean, I what did you think of his performance in that trailer? I'm curious.
I honestly hate myself for this, but I'm just really like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
There's no shame. There's no shame in the
There's
Ryan
nothing.
Reynolds love.
Honestly, I don't know what was it? There was a movie I saw like a trailer for a movie on Netflix the other day, and I was not interested in it whatsoever. And then as like one of the tile pictures go by, has Ryan Reynolds in it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I will watch it.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, ah, you disgust me.
Ryan
I like
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds a
Yeah.
lot. He's funny, and
Well, he's really
I think it's a fine fit. Like I'm sure they could have taken it other ways. I think it's probably a little pandering. Like being objective and honest, I think it's probably a little pandering to our generation and people who grew up playing Pokemon because they know that Deadpool is a big hit.
hmm
We like Ryan Reynolds, and they were like, Ryan Reynolds would appeal to a wide audience. Let's get Ryan Reynolds to be Pikachu because money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm being
there's
honest
probably
about
something
it.
there, but to be fair,
And
I
they're
also
not
think he
wrong.
killed it. I also think he killed it. Like
Yeah.
based on the
He's a
trailer,
great actor. So
like he is.
Yeah, you're
He's a great
absolutely
actor.
right. Yeah.
He's clearly a great voice actor because I thought he was very believable and interesting as Detective Pikachu. I thought he sounded great, and so I want to see more. I want to see more of him in this movie. I'm really excited to see him play Pikachu.
Me too.
And yeah, I mean, this again, if you haven't seen this trailer, please go watch it. I think it might be one of the first successful video game movie adaptations in a long
think
time,
so,
maybe
yeah.
ever. I mean,
I'm looking through a list right now to see if there was any that I would consider like a major commercial success. And I don't think there's any that are going to come near close to what I imagine this is going to be. I imagine this movie will be a traditional cinematics box office success. You know, the kind of numbers that you would expect
yeah,
that a big, large movie like this would make. Now, I don't think any other video game movie has really ever seen that kind of success. Like just really standard success, actually, honestly. I know Scott Pilgrim versus the World has a huge cult following. But
isn't
I
that
don't
a
actually know
comic
what
book,
it
or
did.
is that based off video game, or is it a comic book?
No, you're right. You're right. It was a comic book, and I think the game might have come out afterwards, or it might have been before. I know there was a little game, or there's been several games, but I think you're right. I think it was mostly a comic book first.
Hmm.
And I'm not seeing anything here that I'm like, yeah, that was a really big success. Also,
Yeah,
this is not a great list.
listeners,
But
if we're missing a really obvious video game movie success, please let us know. I can't think of any.
well, like the last four off the top of my head that were based off video games specifically: Rampage, Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed, and Warcraft.
No.
None of them were great.
Some people like
None of
the
them were
Resident
very
Evil
successful.
movies. Some people like the Resident Evil movies.
I like them, but they've never been financially like.
Yeah, that was my impression too.
They've
Like
never blown up.
they have
They
an
have a
audience,
following, is what
but
it
they have a
is. Yeah.
following, but yeah,
Exactly.
not we're not talking smash like a smash hit at the box office for them. So that
And
can
also,
think of.
I think a large portion of the audience for the movies actually don't play the video games.
Probably true. Yeah,
So,
that's actually an interesting question. I wonder what the breakdown of that is. Um,
another time.
yeah. So the saddest part about this news story is we have to wait till 2019 to see this movie.
Yeah, it's
but
what, like May? Is it May?
I think sometime in the spring, spring or summer. But I can't wait.
Please.
I was not expecting
May 10th.
and so that's actually not too far.
Oh, that's right. That's literally right when my baby is due. Like, that's the week my baby is due. And I'm like, when I found that out, I was like, no!
So we'll all be talking about how great
I
the
have to
movie is
wait!
while Kraig just has to sit here and
That
not
happened with
watch
Kale,
it.
too. I don't remember what movie it is for the life of me, but there was a movie that came out, like, the day he was born that I was like, want to watch it? Don't get to watch it. Not going to watch it.
Yep. I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our second news story / topic of the day is also really surprising. This just broke on Thursday. Sony Entertainment is skipping this upcoming E3 2019. They are just skipping the entire conference. They will not have their traditional show. They're just gonna be gone. Yeah. So the statement here.
Sony hasn't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's the first time Sony hasn't participated in E3 in 24 years.
Yeah, it's
24 years.
It is actually for the E3 conference as a whole. This is huge. So I'm looking at it. The article by Jason Schreier at Kotaku, and the statement that Sony gave was that as the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided to not participate in E3 in 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. So, there's two things I want to talk about with this. One is, what will the consequences of this be to the E3 conference as a whole, and what does it mean for Microsoft? But first, what do you make of that statement? I think it's really interesting that Sony's saying they want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers, and as a result, they are not going to participate in E3. What does that mean?
I see a lot of buzzwords in there. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of words that are like
very vague,
meant to I guess hype people up. And I think it's really just a grab for attention, which I don't blame them for. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I don't care for it, but it's smart.
So I've got I've got two. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because like now the world's gonna be watching for what they do.
Yeah.
And they could externally announce everything that they're doing during E3, and I don't know how much it would actually take away from E3, but I guarantee that everybody would stop for a second and go figure out what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would draw this action draws a lot of attention to what they're going to be doing in the future, and it makes a lot of sense, because I think things get I think it's easy for things to kind of either get overlooked or just brushed by at E3. There's a lot going on, so it makes sense. Even though it's still kind of like, if it's a console release that you're announcing, which everybody knows is coming anyways, like it's still going to be a really big thing at E3. So like, on one hand, I guess as a fan, it doesn't make sense. From a business perspective, it's just going to increase hype, which is always a good thing. So
yeah. So the way I read this is that even if they announced a new console or something, it's not going to be at E3. It's not. It won't even be there for attendees. Like, they're just not. They're not going to have a presence at all. I do think, I think your theory about that they might be generating hype for some other announcement or way of announcing. I think you're onto something with that. My two theories related to this is that they are going to have some kind of separate event, maybe before E3. I wouldn't be surprised if they wait till after E3. But in either case, I think they will probably have some kind of their own event or showcase where they announce the PlayStation 5. I don't think the PlayStation 5 is going to come out this year, but I do think, next year in 2019. No. And Jason Schreier, in his article, he states that it's widely believed it'll be released in 2020. At most, he's getting that information from developers who are trying to prepare games for it. So, and I guess,
well, and there's been
there's
been conversation that developers already have dev kits and everything for it. So I guess, but again,
we all know it's in development, really, right?
Yeah, everybody knew at this point. Like, everybody knew the lifespan of the current generation. God, we're up on how many years now with the PlayStation or with Xbox?
The 5th year anniversary of the PlayStation was just, I think, last week.
5?
So yeah, I think it's longer. 5 years. This year,
well,
and so
still.
I mean, it's still a long time.
It was anticipated that they would have about a 10-year lifespan, and I mean, like, that's still technically true. Like, they'll still be playable for 10 years, but 7 to 8 years it's pretty long for a console.
Yeah. It's looking like it's going to be, I guess, 7-ish probably, if it does release in 2020. So I guess if you think about last year's E3, you could maybe see this coming a little bit, because Sony's presentation last year was also very small
Joke.
and very weird.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't very hype. And it was very much like, so for those who, just as a refresher or reminder, they basically showcased, I think, 4 different games, something like that.
I think there were a few that had been announced already that they were technically in their showcase, but yeah, like it was.
Yeah, they kind
wasn't
of
a lot there.
No, they kind of just showed extended demos of a few different Sony exclusive games, and that was it. And it took a very long time because they had to shuffle the audience like to these 4 different rooms, and so there was always this really long break in between like the trailer, and so like the conference was really kind of a mess, and it wasn't really very hype generating at all, compared to Microsoft's, which was much better. I mean, there weren't any like huge, well, besides Cyberpunk, the Cyberpunk trailer, there weren't any like huge announcements for Microsoft, but they did show a lot of games and a lot of what they're planning. I guess there was Gears too, so there were a few big ones. So I guess like, Sony was very scaled down last year. Now they're just not going to be there at all. I really have to wonder if they're going to come back. I would assume they would have to. For E3 to survive, it's really hard to imagine one of the big 3 consoles just not ever being.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they may also just have not very much to show. Like if they're not ready to show the PS5 yet, or they want to do that in their own way, and I don't think they have very many like big video games that they can really show off for the PS4. Like they've kind of shown all they've got in development that we know of, at least. So there might just not be a whole lot left.
I imagine most of their third-party developers are going to be at this point working on next-gen releases.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes the most sense. So yeah, and God, by E3 next year, there's going to be a lot of their kind of core games that are going to already be out too.
Yeah.
I think Anthem comes out next year, right?
Yep. That'll be before
that
E3.
got pushed towards the end of the year, didn't it?
No, Anthem is like February or March or something. So.
Yeah,
that's not a PS4 exclusive.
I think it's not a PS4. So I think you've got a point, though. I'm thinking, honestly, that would also make a lot of sense given their poor showing last year. If they just don't have anything, why spend the money?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. And then like if they've just got a couple things, do their own conference, it generates more hype than there would be at E3. In fact, honestly, if they didn't have a whole lot to show at E3 again, they'd get disparaged for it. At least this way, if it's just a small showing, it's still like
a big question mark, right?
So they did a thing.
What are they? Yeah.
So that would make a lot of sense.
And as far as this, because this console generation is starting to come to a close, like Sony has completely won the console war, so to speak, with Microsoft this generation. And there's not like a whole lot to fight for. When it comes to this generation, and so they may be just looking ahead like, we don't really need to go to E3, we don't have a whole lot to show until we're ready to really like unveil the PS5 and everything we've got going for that. I also wonder if they there is some speculation that Microsoft may try to take this opportunity to announce their next console. And maybe even try to release it. This is all speculation, but that they may try to release it, before Sony, which could mean like end of 2019. I doubt that. I would expect it'd be 2020 as well for Microsoft's new console, whatever that is. But if they wanted to kind of like get the hype train going and get everyone's attention while Sony is gone, like this could be Microsoft's moment to really try to rebound. At their conference at E3, there's going to be no Sony conference to compete with them.
Yeah, do like a Scorpio campaign. Very similar. Like just there's the code name. We all know you're going to get it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what's going to happen with it. It's going to be big.
And Microsoft's
kind of get out on their own leaks.
Right. And I think Microsoft has not necessarily quietly, but slowly but surely been making some really great moves to prepare themselves for the next console battle, I guess, with Sony. The Xbox One X is by far considered the superior high-end console when compared to the PS4 Pro. It can display in native 4K, and just all the teraflops, I guess, really paid off. It just performs and looks much better whenever there's a comparison. And their Game Pass system is such a tremendous value. They have so many great quality games, third party and first party, and they're committed to releasing their first party games on Game Pass. And so, like, the amount of games that you get for only $10 a month is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, I know Sony has some of their own kind of comparable systems, or not systems, but services, but I don't think it compares to what Xbox is doing. And
well, especially since Game Pass is now crossplay with computer with PC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another huge thing. Which crossplay in general is something that Microsoft has also been doing much better and been very open to. Sony is just now dragging their feet around to it. But if Microsoft can announce a new console that looks fantastic, has Game Pass, and supports, like, especially if it supports all the Xbox One, which I think it will support all the Xbox One games on their new console. So you've got that backwards compatibility. You've got the Game Pass service for only $10 a month, and has all this crossplay stuff going on with PC and the Nintendo Switch. Even, like, that's going to be huge, I think, and it'll be a great way for them to get a foot ahead with Sony doing who knows what.
Yeah, I feel like it's always really hard to predict how future console wars are going to go, because I feel like we're stepping into a new area right now, slowly, very slowly, but I feel like it's happening, where, like, I hear a lot lately about streaming, or not about game streaming.
Right, streaming is a
services.
Like,
the idea,
Netflix for games or whatever.
Yes, Netflix for games, not Twitch.
Right.
If you're listening, and I part of me wants to think it's a gimmick. Part of me wants to think that that's going to be a big part of what's coming up. And I know that in the past, it's at least this year or this time, it seemed like the person who got their console out first is the one who won. PlayStation 4 came out. God, it must have been like, I think it was like 6 months before the Xbox One. There was a length of time before. Maybe it wasn't that long, but I remember it was pretty long, and I think that was a big part of it, because sales went up really fast. But then Xbox came out with the more power, but it didn't really seem to matter, except for to those who wanted an Xbox to begin with.
Right.
But at the same, but I'm not necessarily certain that that's going to apply with this one. I feel like there's a lot of Sony fans, PlayStation fans particularly at this point now, who are just going to wait regardless of what Xbox puts out.
Well, there will be those Sony fans. Sure. There will be those Sony fans that are going to try to stick by Sony, until they're just absolutely convinced they have to make the switch for some reason. But you have to remember that, like, before this console generation, Microsoft was kicking Sony's butt with the 360.
It was.
The 360 was the console. It is what almost everyone had. It was the console to own. And that was the lead that they walked into with this new generation, and then they blew it. And the PlayStation 4 became the cool console to own. And I do think that these console wars are often decided in, like, that first year, so to speak, kind of like as you were mentioning. What I think killed Microsoft was honestly themselves. They shot themselves in the foot, and Sony capitalized. Let me take you back to E3 2013, when Microsoft was announcing their Xbox One. And along with this huge announcement, they were discussing how game ownership was going to be different this time around.
Oh, that's right.
How games would be tied to, like, your system and account, and trying to trade games or borrow games was suddenly very complicated. And there were all these rules attached, and the community was predictably not very happy about it. And then what does Sony do? The Sony conference comes around, they announce the PlayStation 4, and they create this cute little video titled "How Borrowing Games Works with the PS4," and it was literally two people just handing a disc to each other.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it, and the crowd went nuts. And yeah, Microsoft, they backtracked on this plan. They had to, but the damage was done. I mean, especially with I can't remember when the consoles were released, but if your memory is correct, that PlayStation came out before. Like, you put those two things together, and Microsoft completely shot themselves in the foot. Sony's sales, so much higher than Microsoft's in that first year, and that's just so hard to recover from. Really hard to recover from. And that was kind of the story of this whole console war. It's kind of written in that first year. But again, I do think that kind of sets this E3 2019 to be really interesting, because I do think these conferences can really matter when it comes to the release of the next console. And because Sony's not going to be there, I think Microsoft, this is a real opportunity for them to swing big, try to set themselves up for a lot of success.
Agreed.
I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but
the time that they can use there, then great. So actually, I was wrong. I was very wrong. They were released within literally 7 days of each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it really was just Sony kicking Xbox's butt.
Yeah, Sony just kicked ass.
Yeah.
Another thing too, though, that Microsoft's starting to put a lot of eggs in PC basket as well.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, I definitely think that's going to pay off just for gaining new gamers in general, because there's going to be a lot of PC people who are like, sure, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. If I can't get it on Steam, then I just do this. That works for me. That's fine.
Well, especially with
it's not expensive.
Yeah, well, especially with the new mouse and keyboard support that Microsoft is adding to Xbox, it's blurring the lines even more.
They're becoming a lot more analogous. Yeah. I feel like we're going to see a lot more cross between Xbox and PC with the next generation. I don't know how that's going to look. I wish I could speculate. Honestly, I'm always really bad with guessing the future of these things.
Aren't we all?
I always shoot too far, and it's like disappointing. But I do think that's going to be. I think that they're setting up for much more interaction between Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a really big selling point if they do it just right. And if PS5 is missing that entirely, then that could be a huge factor.
It could. I think
Which
this
Sony's
might
not put themselves in a good place for that. They've not.
Yeah, I don't. Part of me wonders if Sony is kind of just sitting a little too high with all of their huge like sales numbers, and just how much more they're outperforming Xbox right now. Like, if they're maybe just not quite as thirsty, so to speak, as Xbox might be at this point going into the new console generation. Which is great news for Xbox fans, because I think Microsoft's very thirsty. They're buying up development companies like crazy. The Games Pass model is great. The Xbox One X is a fantastic high-end console, if you can afford it and have a 4K TV. I think Microsoft, they're going to reach as high as they can, and I wonder if Sony has the same motivation to. They've been coasting kind of on high-quality games and that early console lead that they built. And they do have great first-party games, but
they do. I think that's really kind of from a lot of the people that I talk to who are like just PlayStation people in general, most of the reasoning for that seems to be the fact that they really enjoy the first-party games from PlayStation, which there's a lot there that you don't necessarily get on Xbox, and that's totally understandable. But then, they can get those, but then they can also get all of the cross-platform games as well if they so choose, which that makes a lot of sense. There are some now you can get a lot of the first-party games from Xbox on PC, so you don't really necessarily need an Xbox
if you have a PC.
So if you have a PC, so then that does kind of beg the question: what is Xbox going to do to gain those people back from PlayStation? Because Sony's going to hold on to those IPs as hard as they can, because it's really a big selling point.
Well, hopefully it's
But
not
I
this.
think
I was gonna say,
I
hopefully it's not the
think
same
what
way they
Xbox
tried,
is.
and we're just gonna keep
Yeah,
talking over each other.
we are gonna. Yep. I'm
Uh,
sorry,
no,
but
I was just remembering the
your son is
2013
short.
conference.
Okay.
Sorry.
Um, I think what they're trying to do, because I just remembered a piece of news that kind of went pretty under the wire. I think what they're really trying to do is just gain new people instead of trying to gain. They're trying to expand the market into new gamers less
Hmm.
than reacquiring people from the Sony camp. Because one of the things that I remember, it was a little while ago now, I don't remember when exactly, but I remember that Xbox was starting to, or they had talked about, they were bundling a new Xbox One, I think it was an S, with, I think it was a year or maybe more of Xbox Gold and Game Pass all together and on a payment plan.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was
Hmm.
the big thing. And so it was like a subscription. It was like a subscription based thing where you pay $34 a month or something like that. You get an Xbox, you get Gold, and you get Game Pass.
Hmm.
And it's like $34 a month.
Yeah.
And I think it's like 2 years or something like that until the Xbox is paid off, and then the plan drops like $10 or something like that, and it just
Right, right.
continues on. But for so that instantly becomes significantly more accessible in the same way that phones did, really,
Yeah, yeah.
to common people when someone can't afford $500 at the gate. And
What? Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that. I don't know if that actually went into effect. I remember seeing it though and thinking, business wise, that seems like a really good idea. Personally, I don't know if I would be able to justify doing that.
Well, no, I think business it's a
But
great business move. And again, I think it speaks
yeah,
to the idea that Microsoft is thirsty is the best way I can think to
yeah,
put it. Like they know that they've been way behind Sony this console, and so they're looking for any way, any deal, any way they can sell more consoles, get more people on their platform, playing their
yeah.
games, and they're gonna be they're likely to be more creative. In
Going in
finding
line
ways
with
to do
that,
that.
there's the new Xbox console that's being released without a disc drive, which has
Yeah.
always been the problem with Xboxes is that their disc drives fail after X amount of time.
Hmm. So yeah, the last
And
topic I guess of today is that leak. So it is a rumor still. This is not confirmed, but
it's true.
it is rumored that Microsoft is planning to launch an Xbox One S that lacks a disk drive, which means it will be entirely digital. Now it is also rumored, that they are planning to have some kind of program where if you have a digital copy, or sorry, not digital, if you have a physical copy of a game, you can like trade it in for a digital download, so that you can basically still be able to play the games that you would, I guess, already own on this new digital only Xbox One S. But this is very interesting. It's interesting just in the context of thinking again about the whole debacle in 2013 when they tried to kind of go a more digital only route, right? And at their E3 conference, and everyone revolted, and Sony capitalized on it. But I see where they're coming with this because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to cut down on the cost of the Xbox. This is the
Yep.
Xbox One S, which is in 4K. Can't you can't play games in 4K, but the rest
Yeah.
you can get like YouTube, Netflix, that stuff is in 4K. It does run faster, and I guess I don't know how big the hard drive will be, but I'm sure it'll be sizable because it's digital only. So the idea is you're going to be downloading tons of games onto it. Um, what do you think about this idea?
I think it goes right into what we were just talking about. They're thirsty. They want
Mm-hmm.
more people. I think this is gonna like the price point and the point of it is going to appeal to a lot of people. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
wouldn't otherwise necessarily, or like super casual gamers. The more I've been sort of stepping outside of my bounds. This relates. It's a little off topic, but it relates. I've been stepping outside of my bounds and actually meeting people IRL lately, and
What?
hanging out with people and doing stuff with real people instead of just my friends in Portland and various other areas. And something I'm starting to notice and see is that a lot of other adults who aren't like steeped in the gaming culture,
Mm-hmm.
they may own a console or something, but they don't really play it that much.
Mm.
It's really, really casual. And thinking about it, there's been a couple times where I'm like, why would you spend $400 on a console to play it like once a week?
Yeah.
It's like, I get you want to play Fortnite or whatever, but I don't know. It seems like a steep investment. Like I play the crap out of my gaming consoles, so
Right.
it makes sense for me. Like per hour or per dollar of entertainment hour, I
Mm-hmm.
get so much value from it. So
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But for you don't necessarily seem to get that same value out of it. How do you justify that? And I think that there's a lot of people who realize that and don't go buy a console, even though they would if it was cheaper. And I think this will appeal to that group of people. I also don't think that, like, if this does happen, I don't think that this could have been successful as a primary launch.
Right. I
I think
completely
the
agree.
only way it's successful is if there is a traditional console with a disk drive, that option,
Right.
that opportunity, etc.
Right. Yeah. It
I could
is.
see this. I almost could see this. This isn't going to happen. I already know this is going to happen, but I could almost see this happening for Xbox One release. I could sort of see them going the way of cell phones in the way that, like, here's Xbox new whatever, whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to be. It's not going to be Xbox Two. I've read that where people are like, Xbox Two, and I'm like, it's not going to be the Xbox Two. Get out of here with that. There's going to be the heavy, like, Scorpio version
Mm-hmm.
that's going to go to hardcore gamers, or maybe they'll offer more of a PC type thing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And then there's going to be a standard release that's going to be, the basic model that everyone would generally want, and then there'll be a light version
Yeah.
without a disc tray that's really just a digital box to play.
Right.
I could see that happening. That wouldn't surprise me. Same time, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, I actually. So, I mean, what we've seen in this console generation is that there have been multiple different models, and the biggest difference being just an Xbox One and the Xbox One X, right, which can play all these enhanced
Yeah.
games and 4K, all that kind of stuff. I actually do think that kind of trend will continue. Like, how many different types of models we'll get, I'm not sure, but I do think in the next generation there will be some kind of like basic model, and then a higher end model will come out in another year or two, just like the Xbox One
Yeah.
X did. And it's honestly like, and then maybe a lighter model coming out that's cheaper. Like, I could totally see that happening too. I don't think that theory is far off at all, because again, you're expanding your reach. You're
Mm-hmm.
making your console more accessible to more people. People can choose the console for them that they want and can afford. Uh, and this rumored discless Xbox One is kind of towards that future. It's saying, hey, can we create a cheaper console that can still play all these games well, but we cut out the disc, we cut out the cost there, uh, and people, they're not wrong when they say, look, the trends are still going digital. More and more people are buying digital.
Mm-hmm.
The market is showing that that's just going to keep increasing. They're all in on this Game Pass, which is games as a streaming service in a way. You still download the game, so it's not really
Yeah.
streaming, but you're still like
I'm
paying
sure
for
that'll
access,
expand.
right?
Yeah.
Um, they're all in on that, and you don't need a disc for it. And so I think it's really smart, honestly. I do think the market's going that way. I think really the only danger here are going to be those traditional hardcore gamers that say, hell no, like physical copies all the way, like don't you dare try this
Yeah.
on us again, Microsoft. We remember when you tried to pull this 5 years ago, whatever, and like, like we want our physical games, and like, so I think there will be people like that react this way, but I don't think that it's anything to worry about, because I don't think Microsoft's going to create like a future where everything is only digital. Like, they know people want to buy
Yeah.
discs, which, to be fair, does not happen in the PC community anymore. Like, realistically, the PC
No.
community, right? The PC master race or whatever, it is all digital.
Yeah.
You have your Steam
Yeah.
account and you buy digital copies of games, and that is it. No one buys
Yeah.
physical
You go buy a
copies.
physical copy of a game and it's a code.
Yeah. Yet no one buys physical copies of games for PC anymore. And so Microsoft is very aware of this. And
Yeah.
so, like, I don't blame them at all. But like, I also get, like, there, at least in the past, there was kind of like this culture of like trading games with your friends, and and there's whole business models built around this idea, like GameStop, where you can trade in your games for credit and get new ones. And so I get there's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
pushback against this idea of a digital only future, but I kind of think it's an unavoidable future.
It is, and I think even GameStop kind of understands that. They acquired ThinkGeek for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they knew that digital and like you can buy you can buy games digitally through GameStop. I've done it before, and what they do is they give you basically an Xbox card or a PlayStation card or whatever,
Right.
and you go buy the game with that. So I don't think they'll ever be irrelevant. I think they're starting to place themselves in preparing, because I know a lot of their revenue does come from used game sales.
Yeah.
They don't make money from new games or console sales or anything like that. And I think there'll always be a place for them for used consoles, especially. But I think that they know it's kind of coming, and they're starting to try and position themselves in a different way, diversify themselves so that they don't go completely under when it really finally happens and people have stopped buying most physical games. I had another thought and it ran away.
That's okay. We should probably start wrapping things up anyway. And just to wrap up this topic, the rumor is that this discless Xbox One would be released in the spring of 2019, so not that far away. If these rumors are true, we should be getting details about them probably pretty soon, because that's pre-E3. So, but we'll have to wait to see how that all pans out. Yeah, so let's wrap things up. Kraig, what have you been playing this week in the gaming world? Tell me. I think you might have some Destiny woes to share. What's going on, buddy?
So this week was Iron Banner and Destiny, and I wanted to play, but I also wanted my title. I wanted a title. Just a little thing that goes under your name and is like, hey, this person did this funny thing in this game and it's really cool and whatnot. Worship him. And
these titles are very difficult. They require a lot of grinding,
they're super
right?
hard to get.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of stuff that you have to do together to get these titles. And this one's honestly probably one of the easiest, and I spent far too long doing something that didn't pan out and just wasted so much time this week. Warmind was a garbage expansion. I'm just gonna say that. Like we're in Forsaken now. Everything's all good and stuff, but like I have to play through Warmind content to get this stupid title.
Yeah.
And I never realized. Like I don't think anybody really realized, because so many people were checked out for it, because it was like, whatever. I'm not gonna like sink that much time in Destiny right now. It's not in a great place. And I don't think a lot of people realized how actually garbage Warmind and Osiris was. And this right here, like this experience with the Warmind DLC has showed me just how absolutely horrible that DLC was.
Well, so
it's literally
literally
RNG, or there's literally 1 phase of RNG, 2 phase of RNG, and 3 phase of RNG on top of a timing mechanic that stops you from accessing the first stage of RNG.
Yeah.
Without
it's a mess.
It drops your likelihood. It's such a.
It is a mess. I've read up.
Whoever thought that was a good idea needs to be fired. I'm just kidding. I don't wish that on anybody.
Right, but no, I know what you're. Yeah, I've read up on the situation that you're in. And it sounds horrible. It's very RNG dependent, and as a result, has forced countless hours of grinding out of you, whereas some other people get it in just an hour or two, which is just kind of ridiculous. I do think, so, I've played through both of those expansions, and I do think that Warmind was a decent DLC. I think it looked far better because Osiris was so horrible. Osiris was such a dry, empty DLC.
And then there was EP.
Right, the Exclamation Protocol was pretty good.
There was stuff to do, but it's when you get really deep into it.
Exactly. That's when it falls apart.
When you realize, holy crap, this is so bad.
So I think because I'm thinking for probably 90% of players, Warmind was probably a pretty decent DLC.
Well,
but
even for me, I thought Warmind was fine until this.
Until now, and which, to be fair, there was no requirement to do the type of grinding you're doing until Bungie created this title that forces you to really dive deep into the expansion now and see all the frayed edges and And
Which is weird. You'd think they wouldn't want you to see that, but apparently, I think this just shows that nobody actually realized how bad this was.
no, it was probably like,
It's
what
probably too late
challenges
to
can
fix
we
it at this point.
create? You know, what
Yeah.
challenges can we
Let's
create? Ways of
eke how
grinding.
much can we just wring out of this DLC before Forsaken drops? Because we got time, and this is not big.
They're
That's
they're
really what
ringing
it
you.
came down
They're
to,
ringing you,
probably.
Craig.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
ringing you
God.
dry. Well, I will
Just to
send.
find out that it was useless.
I will send some prayers to RNGesus for you this upcoming week, that you finally get the title you've grinded so faithfully for.
Yeah.
Over on my end, I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption. I'm still only like 20% into that game. I've recently I've just been going off on my horse and like exploring the map because I realized how much of this massive map was still foggy, and it just keeps going, and I'm like just discovering new mountain ranges and like species of animals I can hunt and towns that like I just had no idea existed, and it's insane. It's what an
It's
insanely
like big ol'
massive
Skyrim.
game. It is Skyrim. It's crazy, but been having a lot of fun with that. When I have time to play, and then I did get Pokemon Let's Go Eevee Edition just this last Friday. I've only been able to sink a few hours into it, so I do want to talk about it because it is a very different Pokemon game than the most of the traditional games that fans are used to, and so I think it's worth talking about some of the huge differences there. But I want to wait maybe till next week because I've only been able to sink a few hours into it. Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot I like, and there's a lot I'm not so sure about. But we will talk more about that next time. So preview for next week. Yeah, I don't really have any sad stories related to grinding that I can share. In fact, I think I texted this to you. I think I texted this to you earlier this week, which was to save something like save yourself and just play
Life's
Red Dead
too
Redemption.
Short.
Yeah,
It's like life's too short. Play Red Dead Redemption. Yeah,
and I stand by that.
yeah.
I do not regret any of the time I've sunk into that. So I'm excited for you to eventually play
On the
that.
other hand, yeah. Well, I won't.
You
I'm
won't?
not gonna play Red Dead.
You're not gonna play Red
No.
Dead? No. No.
No. Nah.
No.
It's not my game. It's not my kind of game.
No.
Like, I actually can't think of a Rockstar game I play. No,
I don't know how to process information. I don't know.
I'm just not a huge Rockstar fan. I'm not. Like, they're fine. I think they make fine games. I don't think they should ever stop making games. I just don't care for the games.
Kraig.
It's just too much. Like, I have Destiny right now. It's too much. I can't have that kind of game load. I'll explode. I'm not
well, you are
like some of our friends.
You are in pretty deep with Destiny right now.
I really am.
You're gonna have to.
Forsaken's been really good.
We'll revisit this topic if you ever break free of Bungie's claws. We will revisit this topic when you're ready to give your heart to another game.
Well, and now I'm starting to get into D&D, and that's taking up a lot more time than I thought it would.
Yeah, that can be a time sink
it's
too.
It's a lot of fun.
Maybe in future episodes, be curious to hear about some of your adventures there.
I cut a dude in half.
Wow,
cool.
that is
super dope.
Pretty extreme. I hope he had it coming.
Nuts to dome. He hurt me. It wasn't cool.
And on that note. There is no segue for that statement. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Kraig. Thanks for talking to me another week. Thank you, all of our listeners and viewers. We will be back next week with more Enter Player 3. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday.
Bye.